Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is Sonia Narwal from Intuit Canada. Along with me is my colleague, Kala Remo, and we have a well-known client of ours, Dianna Thorne. Today, we will be doing a webinar on the Business Builder webinar series, how to attract the top talent for your firm. Before we start, I would like to introduce our guest speaker today. She doesn't need a formal introduction for the people that know her in the Intuit ecosystem, but I would like to kind of share some details, her bio from our end. Her name is Dianna Thorne, working for Targeted Accounting. She's the president, a CPA, a CA with more than 25 years of accounting and business management experience. Dianna is an accomplished speaker and is part of Intuit's Writer Trainer Network. Targeted Accounting is an 18-year-old company with over 35 staff across the country. They provide day-to-day bookkeeping and accounting, consulting, as well as streamlining accounting and administrative tasks for entrepreneurial companies. After creating the wheel to establish better workflow and automated processes in their company, they share their findings with the entrepreneurs. What is cool about Dianna? When she is not counting things in her job, she counts in her hand embroidery, creating unique pieces of art. She's currently president of the Embroiderers Association of Canada. So well-rounded individual. Dianna, we welcome you to this webinar series, and there's more to come of that. Please go ahead.
Thanks very much. All right, today we're going to be talking about how to attract the top talent for your firm. I think I got asked because I have so many people across the country, and I kind of gather them from wherever. So hopefully some of what I've found will help you all in finding the best talent for your own companies. So our agenda for today, we already heard the introduction. We're going to spend the first part doing how to attract the top talent. We're going to have a little bit of a poll, and then we're going to get into the second part, which is how to actually find and bring those people on board. And then we'll have questions and answers at the end. So it's just timely, while I was putting this whole webinar together, literally as I was about to submit it that same day, didn't I get an email from BDC, which I do get updates from them on various things. They had just completed a survey. And as you can see, it's September 2018. And the stats are that we're really having a difficult time finding help. So if you're finding that for your firm or you haven't started yet, you may find that it is going to be really difficult. And I've had many people asking me because they know I hire. Literally, I hire 24/7 across the country, both for my own firm and I also hire for clients. And the stats are 39% of Canadian SMEs are already having difficulty finding new employees. And why is that? Because you think there's so many people immigrating and moving into Canada. Why is it that we can't find good help? The reason why? Well, it's because the baby boomer generation has finally decided they're actually going to retire. So there's such a big group of people all retiring at the same time that now we just don't have enough people to fill all those jobs. And I also think we're growing in that we're wanting more and more people. I mean, 10 years ago, I didn't have 35 people across the country. 10 years ago, I had about 7 people. So I think that's also the case, is that we are growing more. So what it's saying is there's not really any relief in sight for the next decade because we're now having this big group leave our workforce. Here's how it looks across the country. I'm hoping we've got some people all across the country. But as you can see, Atlantic Canada, British Columbia, then it's Ontario, Quebec, and then the prairies. But across the whole board, it's really, really high. And I think I read that it's like a 40-year, this is a high of unemployment, or I should say the other way around, that we are employing so many of our people that it's a 40-year high. They haven't seen these kind of stats for that long. Okay, so well, no wonder we can't find good help. It's not just us, and it's not us being critical. It's actually a fact. So what are we going to do? How are we going to get the people we want before our competition gets them. So here are some strategies that also came out of the BDC survey. 4 strategies on keeping, and when you hire, keeping them, right? Once you get them and you spend all that time, you want to keep them. So how are we going to keep them? Well, one is they're suggesting develop an employee value proposition, defining your company's visions, values, and the reasons people are proud to work with you. So many of us small businesses don't tend to have our vision and our values. We kind of think, oh, that's the big guys. But it's not. We need to have that to focus ourselves and to bring all of what we do to replicate that, so that the employees see that they're part of a bigger group. They're not just a cog in the wheel. So 2, they're suggesting hire immigrants and workers from other underused segments. And I will say a lot of the resumes I see are immigrants that have been here for 1 year and less. A lot of times it's 6 months and less. And the issue is, I know for a lot of us in the accounting, bookkeeping world, is it's fine if somebody has accounting background from whatever country, debits are debits, credits are credits, but they don't know our payroll rules. They don't know our sales tax, our GST, HST. They don't know specifically our income tax deductibility rules. And for us, that's a big thing. And we're thinking, if I hire one of these people, I'm now going to have to invest a lot of time in training. And you may have to. So you may find some of the best workers are going to be from that segment, but you are going to have to put some upfront time in. But it's better than not having any talent and you working way more overtime than you can handle, and your current staff having to work more overtime than they would want, which creates then an unpleasant workplace. Number 3, it says improve operational efficiency, automate processes, and use more technology. Oh my gosh, this is talking right up my alley. I just spoke a little over a week ago at the IPBC conference, and I was exactly speaking on you need to put workflows and processes in and automate those workflows for your staff. So everywhere I'm seeing this, and it was funny because the whole conference had this underlying, not on purpose, but this underlying note that everybody was talking about workflow and processes. And last year, in any of the conferences I went to, that was not the focus. And all of a sudden this year, that is the focus. So, and we're automating behind our scenes with technology as well as our workflows. So that speaks exactly where a lot of us need to go. And I will say, I don't see it at a lot of small businesses. I'm seeing it on the internet for large firms. I am not seeing it for small firms, and we have to get ourselves there. Number 4 is to formalize your HR policies. How many of us in small business don't have employee policy handbooks? We need to. We need to be setting up what are our policies and have things in place for as we grow, that we have things ready for that workforce. We're not just a 1 or 2 person shop anymore. So where are we going to start? Well, guess what? It starts with you. And I put this little mirror on there. I thought it was too funny. It starts with a self-assessment of your company. You need to take an internal look, and it's one of the hardest things to do. And you're like, I don't have time for this right now. What I really need to do is hire. But people need to be attracted to you. So you need to start looking at what is everybody else seeing about you and your firm. What does your website look like? In this virtual world we live in, even if we do have a brick and mortar place, people aren't driving by it and walking in to be, our client and our staff. They find us through the web. So what does your web presence look? I was doing some research. I was out in Alberta for the conference, and I was connecting with some accountants in Edmonton before I went to Calgary, and I happened to be looking at a lot of accounting websites in that week, and you could really tell the people that were in the here and now of what websites need to be and what should be on them and what's inviting to both clients and staff, and then the ones that kind of built it 10 or 15 years ago and then just really don't update it. They're really not inviting. you really need to look at that and say, okay, maybe it's time for a refresher. And what should that include? Now we already talked about, do you have company culture and values? But even if you have values, do you have culture? What do people feel about working at your establishment? Are you on any social media like LinkedIn and Facebook? Do you know how many times I go look up people on LinkedIn and there's no picture? You need to get, even if you have taken the time to set up, make sure you have a really fantastic picture of yourself. Make sure you've written up about your firm. You should post. I'm bad at that too. I have it all written up in my profile, but I really rarely post. I kind of connect with people, but I rarely post. But it's amazing how people will look and see, oh, wow, they're involved and they're actually somebody I might want to be working with. Facebook as well, I kind of said to myself, I don't get it. Facebook is for persons, not businesses. LinkedIn is for businesses. But apparently I'm wrong in that aspect too. Businesses have Facebook pages. And we all know there's the Facebook groups, which I find fabulous. They're fabulous. But yes, we need also a presence on Facebook, even if we have a website. Are you known in other ways out in your community? Do you do, like I am, webinars and seminars? Do you go to in-person events that are business events and or accounting events specific? I don't know how many times I go and I see various people over the years, and that's how I see them, and that's how we connect and find out what each other is doing. And people come up to me because they've seen me at events. Oh, I've seen you here and I've seen you there. And so because they see you, they know you're not just, a fly-by-night. They know you're established and that you're actually keeping up to date, and they want to be a part of that, I find. Then you got to ask yourself, do you like working for your company? Yes, myself, I'm counting down to retirement, but I still like working for my company, and I still like working with the group that's in my company. And in the last year, we've really changed our whole focus. And I would have said a year ago, I had almost zero culture. We were just a bunch of people getting the work done, getting her done. That's what I would have said. Now, I would say we have some culture. Now we have some gelling of all our people, and it makes a huge difference in how the people are working with each other, how they're collaborating, how they're sharing what they're learning. It's huge. So you have to say to yourself, do I really like working here, or is it just a job? It can't be just a job. So if you're feeling that, then and it's so hard to do on your own, you maybe have to go out and get a coach, get somebody else, another business associate that you know or whatever, and say, what do you think of us, and what would you improve if you had the ability to? And I know it can be hard to look in the mirror, but it'll be worth it if you find out what some other people are thinking and make some small changes along the way, so you get a new company, a new you. So now, what if we're going to change or we're going to and maybe put something together? How do we know what to put together to offer? We need to know what the new hires are looking for, and we're now dealing with the crazy differences between the people out there looking for jobs. We've got still some baby boomers or Generation Xers or what have you. We've got that group. We've got whatever group you're in per se, and then we've got the millennials. So we need to figure out, well, what does everybody want? What I might think they want is maybe not what they really want. So this was a survey that I actually took off of LinkedIn. Has a fabulous free download. So some of my information has come from their hiring book, and this was in it. And it's from a vision report, and it's saying that 92% of people, yes, it's the money. Obviously, they need to get paid. 87% want security. So whether that is that there's work to fill the amount of time they want, whether it's 40 hours or something less, but maybe there's some other aspects to the security, and I'm going to get into that on the next slide. They want their free time, holidays, and time off. And what does that look like? Maybe it's not traditionally what we think it is. So we're going to look at that. They want the great people. So as I said to you, in the last year, I totally changed and we've built a culture. I'm going to say we're not done. We're nowhere near done, but we actually now have a foundation. And so people are coming up and saying to us, hey, I like your vision. I like where you're going. I've seen you with so-and-so and so-and-so in your group, and I like that. I like what I see. I want to work with a good group of people who are always learning and finding out about what's going on. They just don't come into their desk and work away. They're actually interacting with each other. And then they want flexible work. So that holidays and time off and flexible work, it's pretty hand in hand. So what does flexible work look like? So we're going to talk about each of these. So we're going to talk about them in amongst some of all these other slides. So the first thing, once we kind of figure out, okay, we need to hire, we need to create that horrible job posting that we all hate, and we need to figure out what that job description is. But what do we need to put in a job posting? It can't be just the job description, because that sounds boring. We need to have all the components in together for it to be the one that somebody wants to apply for. So first of all, is your wage competitive? Do not be cheap. You get what you pay for. We all know it. Do you have any benefit plans? And even in my own company, I all of a sudden have gone from mostly working with subcontractors to now having a mix of employees and subcontractors, and we're now having to put together a benefit plan. Before, anybody that was with us, they had spouses that had plans, but now we're like over 35 people, and different people have different needs. We now need a benefit plan. It's one of those things you don't get to, you put it off. One associate I know, she goes, yes, I got that from my staff that they wanted a benefit plan 2 years ago. What do you think she's experiencing right now? High turnover, because she didn't listen to her employees and start putting in some of the things that really made a difference to them. So it does matter. For the security on the other side, on that other slide we just talked about, for that security aspect, perhaps security is growth opportunities in the company. With a lot of us with very small organizations, is that we have a very flat company. We don't have growth opportunities, so do you? In my company, we do, and we've always said it, and we kind of move people along, but kind of in a very not organized, planned method. And now we're actually putting into place how do we turn you into that next position and make sure that we're meeting your needs for growth in knowledge and challenges for client work. How are we doing that as opposed to losing that great talent? So we right now are doing that, and you just chip away at it a little at a time, but you both work on it. And it doesn't have to all come from you. It has to come from them too. What are they going to do, and what are you going to do? It has to be a joint. But I kind of find a lot of our companies don't do the growth opportunities, and we really must. If your vacation policy is better than average, well, belt that out in your job posting. Say that. We give better than, the statutory requirements. State what it is. Talk about your people and talk about your culture. The decision for you to hire a person who's applying is just as important from the other side of the table. When I do interviews, I actually take as much or more time in explaining what we're about so that that person can know they're making the right decision. It goes both ways. You need to know about them. They need to know about you, because if it's not a good fit, you'll have spent a lot of time finding, training, getting them there, only to have them leave. Last one on this slide is, can you offer flex time or work from home time? Now, in my company, we have an office, but it's a home-based office. I have 7 workstations in my office. I'm in one room, 6 are in another room. But how do I fit 35 or more people in there? I don't. They all work from their own homes. They go from their home to clients and or they work in their own home offices. So if you have a brick and mortar, and yes, you want to see them, can you also offer some flex time and some home time? My husband works for a company where it's mandated that they work 1 day a week from home to have that life-work balance. Can you maybe have people come in late and stay late, or, you know, opposite, come in early and leave early. A lot of us are juggling with family members, children, etc., that we've got to meet those timelines. So can we offer that? It doesn't have to be exactly 9 to 5 and in a brick and mortar anymore. Create a job posting continued. Here's some other thoughts I had on it. Make your company sound exciting and interesting. And exciting. Do you see how I said that again? Exciting and interesting and exciting. We are bookkeepers and accountants. We're kind of a little bit on the boring side, and we need to make it sound exciting that we are the best place to work anywhere. People are going to just want to come work for us and not our competition. So make it sound exciting. Talk about what you're doing, your growth, what you're doing that's new. If you have a niche area, whatever it is that makes you stand out, put that in there. State any community outreach you do, any volunteer work, outreach. Maybe you're not doing that. Okay, then add that. Maybe you all go into a walkathon. Maybe you go into a dragon boat race. Maybe anything that's exciting. You'll get two things out of it. You'll get pictures and that to put on all these social media places. You will get a bit of downtime that our staff really needs because we have such intense, busy times. You will get them gelling, and you will get, what's the other word I'm thinking of? Lots of interaction and laughing and stuff that they just don't do together all the time, right? So if you're not doing something, then try and figure out what is that something. Include, of course, your responsibilities and your qualifications. That's the job description, the meat. In the middle, avoid, they say this came from the LinkedIn, avoid using gender-specific language. And some of the gender-specific language, I didn't even know it was gender-specific. So there's kind of some new language, so Google that, gender-specific language, and find out what should you not be doing and find out what the alternatives are. Again, if you find it on the LinkedIn site, this free book, they have a whole list. And they have some that are all male and all female kind of gender specific. And I'll tell you, you'll be shocked. And they have some more inclusive language. Include some perk type benefits. So what could those be? They told me I had to put pictures in, so I apologize. Here's the pictures I found. Have a pet friendly office. Now, for me, I'm not a pet person. But if you are a pet person and other people maybe would like to also bring their dog to the office. I went to my brother-in-law's office, and they had 3 dogs. I think one was the owner's and 2 were employees, and they had their little beds, and their pets were just as happy as could be because instead of being left at home all day, they were with their owner. So, and other people would come around and get up and have a walk and a stretch from their desk, and they'd come and say hi to whoever the pet was, etc. That pet got treated like royalty, right? And they'll be happier, and of course, you probably will be happier. As long as you're a pet person. I'm not, but that is one option they're putting out there. We could do that. How about transit passes and parking? Depending on where we live, those could be added benefits. Yes, they're taxable, obviously, benefits. But, when people are looking at, gee, you're a little ways away from me, a little further than I wanted to, that could be the tipping point, right? They really like what you have to offer. And if you kind of sweeten the pot, that might be just the thing that makes them take the position. The flex start and end times we already talked about. Fitness options. I have seen in a few offices where they offer a room for yoga, and they just have some stuff that could be put on, or they have once a week or whatever, they have somebody come in and offer a yoga class, and anybody who wants can take it. Or it's at lunchtime to give us that mental break. I myself love yoga, and I'm always having problems finding out when I could go do it. So if I brought somebody in, oh my gosh, that would make it so much easier. I don't have to go to them. Volunteer time. I've heard of companies, either they all go and do volunteer time, Thanksgiving's coming up, right? Maybe you go do a food bank sort, etc. Or I've also seen where you offer a paid time for, or a day off or whatever, where your staff can go do their favorite volunteer time. My husband worked for a company where he's in scouting, heavy into scouting, and they were like, yes, you get 1 day a year to go and do whatever it is that you volunteer. I mean, it could be 2 half days or whatever. but they paid it and said, yes, we want you volunteering. Our society depends a lot on volunteers, so go do that. So, you know, when your company supports you in those kind of things, it means a lot to people that they're not just, you know, work, work, work. They also know you have a life outside of work. What about social events? Are you doing any social events? Are you doing contests or fun meals, you know, themed meals? Maybe, you know, it's a Thanksgiving meal. Maybe it's a Halloween meal. I've seen that done quite a few times. Maybe it's contests to build something around holiday events, but maybe it's just because, you know, you do a summer thing or whatever and you have a contest. What could the contest be? I've seen what kind of firm was it? A graphic design company, and they had a special kind of graphic design contest, and they even had an award that was given for it, and they have first, second, third, and some gift cards given out and whatever, but everybody really enjoyed it. I mean, to look on everybody's faces for that 1 hour that they all just came together, everybody showed their thing. It was an hour, right? It was an hour, and then the presentation of whatever it was you're going to give, and they could be funny things that are awarded, but it's, again, do you do things that make your place a little bit more than just work, work, work? Okay, we've hit the audience poll, and I think one of our moderators is going to come on to give us what the question is and explain it to us. Maybe somebody's going to come on.
Sure. Thanks, Dianna. That was amazing. So a quick poll for the audience. What has worked for you in the past to find good help? You should have this question pop up on your window. All you got to do is there are 4 small check boxes and the 4 answers depending on which one that has worked for you. Job website, social media, never hired before or other. If you could just check mark 1 and just click on the button where it says submit. So we'll get a quick poll right now. Thank you.
We're at 64. 64% have voted. Come on, some of you have not voted. We know. We're looking for 100%. We're at 69. Let's go. I'm not sure how long does the poll automatically close? This is the first time I've been doing the poll.
Usually it depends on us, the organizer. So we had 71%. Maybe we'll just go for 75. Anybody else would like to
Come on, 4 more percent, guys. Don't let us down. Stats are only as good if everybody participates. That's Nobody right. else is. I think that's maybe it.
So that's fine. We'll close the poll. So the results right now, it's out there.
Oh, no, I can't see it though.
Okay.
So what are the results?
Sure, I'll read out. So right now for job websites, we have 23%. We have a tie with social media, which is 23%. Other is 23%. So all 3 are 23%. And the winner is never hired before.
Okay, so now at least I know what our audience is like. So yes, some of this then, now you're going to figure out, what am I going to try? Excellent. Thank you, guys. Okay, so continuing on, now we're going to get into what are some of these other spots. So one thing that I think happens is we always go out searching, and it's like finding the needle in the haystack. Why don't you allow potential candidates to come to you? So on your company website, did you think of having a careers section, even if you're not hiring? I got today, it's so funny that we're doing this right now. This morning, sat down at my computer, didn't I have an email from somebody who hit on our site, I guess, their careers, because we do have a career section on it, and they gave me a whole, you know, this is what I've done, this is where I'm at. I really would like to come and work for you because I like what I'm seeing. I was like, oh my gosh, the timing was perfect for today's webinar. So you see, it works. And I get one of those, I'd say now, I maybe get 4 or 5 in a year where I get that, an email, someone searched or they've seen me out doing my talks and my webinars and things, and they go, yes, I want to see if there's a spot for me in that company. So it was too funny that that happened actually right today. And this person has just wrote their, just finished their CPA exam, because I guess it was last week. So they're now looking to see what am I going to be doing now that I'm finished all the studying, and where would I like to go in my next step in my career. So I'm going to say to you, how many of you on your websites actually have a spot where maybe they can just email, and as long as they can attach a resume, if it goes out to their own email or whatever, make sure they can do that so you can be in touch with them. You'd be surprised. And all the big accounting firms have that on theirs. And then post in social media, including your tweeting, which I have to say, I have a Twitter account. I don't tweet that often, but put it out there. I have put on LinkedIn, I've had it up there, we're hiring for this. And again, every now and then I get somebody who sends me a message saying, hey, I saw, are you in fact still hiring? So LinkedIn, on Facebook, you can post it on your Facebook site, Twitter, and then I was told, oh, Dianna, you need an Instagram. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Another one? I said, I haven't even looked at Instagram. And they all looked at me. I said, guys, I'm so busy growing my business. I've got the Facebook page. I've got the Twitter account. I've got the LinkedIn. I'm trying to put something on all these. I've just kind of decided Instagram, I'm leaving it. And they shook their head. And this was a graphic design advertising company that is my client. And they said, no, Dianna. They said, so they are a niche company. They only deal in one area of industry for their work. And they said, you won't believe it. We set up an Instagram, and they said, you will not believe we have got 4 new clients this year from it. And I'm like, what? I couldn't believe it. So you could use it for hiring as well as for clients. So see, you're getting a bonus on this one. And I'm like, I just don't get it. It's pictures. But whatever, I'm going to say this. If you're going to do it, what you could do is you can be putting on pictures of what you and your staff are doing, the fun things, the involvement, what you do for fun besides the work. So again, you see people will see it and go, wow, that's not a boring accounting or bookkeeping firm like I'm thinking. Those people look like they actually have fun the odd time. So I'm just going to tell you, it seems to work, whether you and I believe it or not. So I'm going to put it out there. Okay, next thing is you can create a hiring pool. So one, on your website, because they can send to you whenever, even if you don't need someone right now, you can respond and say, I don't need somebody right now, but I will keep your resume if you liked it and you thought, yes, this could be a potential for us, and that you'll keep it for later consideration. I use a job site that I found out, I'm in a group that's like a mentoring coaching group that's all business owners, and one of the business owners there said, oh, Dianna, have you tried Jobilico? So I'm putting a little plug in for Jobilico. I went, no, I've never heard of it. We've all heard the normal Indeed. We've heard of Monster, right? We've heard of Workopolis, but we hadn't heard of I hadn't heard of Jobilico. So I went to Jobilico, and I'm actually up for renewal. My annual fee renews in October. I'm meeting this week with my rep, and I paid one flat fee for the whole year. And in that particular job posting application, they have what's called a hiring pool. So you can create a position and have it out there, and it kind of mines the other people who put their resume in, and it just finds all these people who have what you're looking for before you even post. So yes, you can post and say, right now I'm hiring, but if you know what, I think in 6 months I'm going to need another, or, who knows the amount of clients that walk in the door next month. You don't know till you need, and that's the problem. It's the chicken and the egg, right? Trying to get the person before the work comes in, or only when you're about to have the work. So having a pool of candidates is ideal, because then you can go through them and see. Now, some of them might not be looking. You can, what I liked about on Jobilico, it lets me sort by the last time the candidate was in. So it actually knows when they've been in and looking and doing anything, not necessarily tweaking their resume, but actually just active in the app. So then if those people, and you can sort it by that, if those people are active right now, they're obviously still looking. So it's awesome. So I don't know if there's other sites that have it, but I will tell you some do. So that's an option. If you interact in any of the online groups, in the Facebook, the QB online groups, etc., you can put in there and you can monitor and see what other people are doing. And I know a lot of those people are self-employed, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes, though, some of the self-employed are new, and it's because they haven't been able to find that next best job. You'd be surprised. I hire all the time how many people who have their own business, but no, I'm really only busy 2 days a week. I'd like to work for you the other 3 days. Well, maybe that will fit your need because you don't have 40 hours a week. So I will tell you, looking and reading and monitoring and going, you know what, that person has the same thought waves as I do. They're on the same page. You can kind of be able to find those people that might fit in your group. Where do you find people when nobody is coming, when nobody's just automatically saying I'm the next best person? What are the stats? Where does it say that you can get some people? So this is a 2017 Deloitte study, and the top 3 recruiting sources are employee referrals. I do this and have done this for years. I would say I've done this probably the last 5 or 6 years. I have put out there, hey, we're, specifically sometimes, because now they know I'm hiring 24/7. Back then I did not, but I would put out there, hey, I need somebody in Ottawa area. Hey, I need somebody in the downtown Toronto area. I need somebody in York Region area, wherever. And I'd say, this is what we're looking for. And you would be surprised. In the small pool I had at the time, I think I've hired from internal 4 times. So that's pretty amazing considering it's a small pool of people. One of the girls, she talks to moms when she goes and picks up her kids, and that's how we got one of the bookkeepers. She found out this person was a bookkeeper just in casual conversation. So you just don't know. There's their friends, and for them to keep their ears open when they're out and about. Professional networking sites. So in the different the CPA sites, be looking in there. Any associations, the IPBC, which is the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers, you might find there. And then internal candidates. So that's where you're going for that growth again, where you put it out there, and maybe you hand pick, though, but maybe you put it out there. This is what we're doing, and see if you can get some people trying to vie for it. So here's my quote. I kind of came across this while I was searching, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly it. You attract what you are, not what you want. If you want great, then be great. Again, a year ago when I started figuring out this whole culture thing and what did I have to build, I couldn't just, put the blinders on and work. I had to really change so much internally. And as soon as I started changing that, people started coming. More than I've ever seen before of their own. So I'm telling you, when you make those changes, you will find it just happens, and your mindset changes and people get attracted to you. Capitalize on those close connections. Here's some other ways to do it. Offer an employee referral plan. I actually do. I offer them $200 if we hire somebody on, and they have to be with us for 6 months. At the 6-month mark, we put it in our calendar. If they've worked out, we give $200 to that person, whether it's an employee who referred or a subcontractor who referred, because you are going to spend way more than $200 in time finding the next great person you want. So to me, it's really well worth it. Again, we're talking about, do you have a path for internal growth? What's it going to look like? And you should state that maybe in your job posting. Hey, there is a chance for internal growth. These are our other positions, etc. And maybe it's a hybrid, right? It doesn't have to be a full promotion. It can be just you're adding to their normal work. I've added things like somebody to investigate all these online apps and software. And so I had somebody that goes, oh, I love to do that. So for them, it was a growth item. And I said, okay, I'm going to pay you at a higher rate to do that because otherwise I would have to do it. So they have the money incentive and they have the challenge incentive, right? So it's a kind of a mix, I will tell you. Throw it out there and see what people grab onto for what could be attractive. And if you're right now wanting to hire and you're like, but I have so much to do, you could make some lists of, well, what should I be doing and I'm not doing? So that could be an internal growth path for some people. Put out the words to your colleagues. It could be your personal friends, your family, your business colleagues, and they could be accounting colleagues, or they could just be other businesses, right? You just don't know where the next person connection is going to come from. So places to mine, and when I mean mine, I mean you're trolling. You are going on those sites and you're looking with specific, targets in mind. So you can search in LinkedIn, you can search in Facebook, and they may be working somewhere else, right? There's nothing wrong with, poaching. If you approach somebody and they were thinking anyway, you're just getting in ahead of them actually having to post and go try the hard way to find their next best job. My husband's an accountant, and he had mentally made the decision, I'm going to leave this one job, and he wanted to go to another. And do you know, he had put his resume together, but he hadn't even, I don't think, contacted the headhunter, and he got a call from someone because they said, I think you should go ask him. I think he might, kind of maybe be thinking about moving or whatever, and I think he would fit in this position. He didn't even get to going and having to look. I said, you know what? It's the mindset. You've made that decision, and now the world is pointing at you. It happens. I have gone to Intuit Find an Accountant, but I hire both employee and subcontract. I go there and look for people, and I have made some super, super hires from there. Two of the people that went with me that were at IPBC last week, both I got that way. I think I've probably hired maybe 5 or 6 from there. And, you're thinking, but those people all have established businesses. Well, not all of them. Some of them are starting out. So I look for some people that are starting out. And there's various reasons why they're starting out. Maybe they really need flex time for their family, etc. So I look for people there, and I found some fantastic people. And I just message them right there instead of it being a prospect for a client. I messaged them and let them know this is who I am and this is what I'm looking for. And I just wondered if you maybe had extra time. And I'm amazed at connections I've made and good hires I've made from there. And then, of course, all the different associations that we already met. You can, mine different, a lot of them will have monthly meetings or different things online, but face-to-face events, and I find people there as well. So now I'm going to get into, okay, so now you actually get some resumes. So what should we be looking for? Some of us, as we just saw, half of us haven't even hired. So what are some tips in hiring? Well, it's always been, I'm going to tell you for the last 20 years, I've heard this stat. Average job length is less than 2.5 years. It's like kind of that's the cap is 2.5 years, but now it's getting to be less than. And you know why? We're in a me, virtual, fast-paced environment in everything we do these days. So am I surprised that it's now less than 2.5 years? Absolutely not. People want challenges. They want to move. Things are quick these days. It's not the slow moving, okay, in 10 years I'll get a promotion type of thing. No way. People really want the culture fit. So when you're looking at a resume, you also want to know the culture fit. If you're starting to build your internal culture, you want to make sure that you've got somebody that's going to fit it. So look up companies they've worked for, kind of see if you can look up those websites, see what they know, what they're doing, and see if you think it's going to fit. See if they have along their path of jobs, does it look like they've been growing? If they have not, same job, probably don't have a growth mindset. Okay, if you don't want someone with a growth mindset, you want someone just to do the same job, but it'll give you that insight into them. Look for evidence of ability to be diverse and that they can increase their responsibilities. Does the person have a full profile if you found them on a social site? That shows they'll take the extra effort. Red flags, gaps in the applicant's career. Now, you and I both know, okay, especially for the women out there, gaps sometimes mean we were parenting. So kind of figure out if you can, why would they have a gap? Does it kind of make sense? What's the time? Does it look like maybe it was a family type thing? Maybe it's because they were saying contract, and having trouble finding a full-time because they were just coming out of school. Figure out what it was. Look for vague and ambiguous wording, because as I've stated here, things like familiar with, participated in, means they didn't actually lead it, do it, they just kind of assisted. Look for grammatical errors. Oh, that irks me to no end, because we all have spell check, and have we taken the time to review it? And we all should have given our resume that we created for ourselves to someone else to look at. 58% contain a typo. That's unreal. This also came from recruiterbox.com, is that the job titles, they change the job titles and inflate them. So when you decide on a person and you do reference checking, make sure you ask the person you're talking to, and they will always tell you, because they'll tell you limited things, but they'll tell you, yes, that person's job title was this. So you can confirm the job title. 30% of the time they've inflated it, and you can confirm their employment dates, because again, 30% of the time they've slightly altered that as well to look like they were there longer. Different reference checking. What else should you do? Check out social media sites. See what they're like when they're not at work, right? That gives you some insight into them. Nothing wrong with it. It's all public. If they've put it out public, it's public. And Google them. Have you ever Googled yourself? I've Googled myself. I mean, Google them. You wouldn't believe. My assistant Googled somebody I was about to hire and found out they had been charged with fraud, and we do checks, but we didn't even waste money on the check because we found out they had done it by Googling them, and there was articles out there. So Google them and find out what all is out there on them. Maybe you want to use a personality test to make sure that they're going to be a good fit with the rest of your group. I have not, but I think I'm going to start doing that, because I'm just sometimes finding I'm not getting enough with the other things I do when I hire. Do a phone screening. I sometimes have my assistant do a phone screening. It's a lot less time than saying come for an interview. You can assess their verbal communication abilities, because these people usually have to communicate not only with you and your staff, but with clients. So do you feel they're going to be able to do that? So now we're getting to our final decision. You've gone through the resumes, you've got your person, maybe have another interview. Maybe you need a second look at them. Maybe get someone else in your group to interview them. Could be all at the same day. They don't have to necessarily come back. Do a group interview. I haven't done this, but I've heard others who have done it. They've had 3 or 4 applicants. They all have them come. They all do it at once, group interview. And they said, wow, some interesting things that you see interacting and how they're vying for it, and things they do that you're like, that's not a characteristic I'd like to see. So you get some different dynamics when it's just not you and the other person. And in the end, you're going to have to trust yourself. You're going to have to try someone out. And remember, if you're hiring them, you still have 3 months to try them out. Make sure you note that 3 months so you can decide, yes, they're a good fit or they're not. Okay, I was hurrying those last couple of slides because I saw we're getting near the end of our hour. It is now question and answer time. So I'll ask our Intuit helpers to facilitate in the questions for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Dianna, for sharing such wisdom and some tips on hiring. We have Carla here, so we appreciate your time. I do want to call upon my colleague, Carla. We have some questions in the chat window she's going to read out, and Dianna, if you could please respond to that, that'll be highly appreciative.
Perfect.
Thank you, Sonia. Hi, Dianna. So our first question is, where is the best place to recruit a remote part-time bookkeeper?
Okay. So you know what? I'm going to say maybe you need to come to the Thursday session, because I'm 100% talking about virtual hiring. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to say come to that one, because that could take me the whole hour to explain. So come to that one. Can we leave that one for that? Say come to the next session.
Yeah,
I don't want to give away things.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, the part 2 of 2 will be on September 27th, so this Thursday, 1 to 2. So Dianna, you're saying that you'll be able to answer that question in that webinar, right?
Absolutely, because the whole webinar is in dealing with virtual staffing, hiring and staffing, and how do you work with them once you've hired them.
Right, excellent. Okay, perfect. So let's move on to the second question. It's what is the going rate for remote part-time bookkeepers?
So, yeah, it doesn't really matter if they're remote or they're not. It's their capability, right? And it depends on what you're asking them to do, because you can have very junior bookkeepers, or you can have more run-of-the-mill full, cycle bookkeeping, and you can have senior. So I'm going to say the really junior, you're talking 2022, 24 to about 28 for the middle of the row, and 28 to about 34 for your more kind of senior ones that are really, really top notch, and or could also do like accounting manager type work. And when I say that, that's kind of for both employees and for subcontract. I think subcontract because I hired that way so long. But what I do is, if the person's going to come on as an employee, I have a spreadsheet that just takes the rate and reverts it into an hourly employee, meaning when I pay you as a subcontractor, it would be you're paying your own CPP, right? Where if you come on, I'm paying CPP, ANEI, et cetera. So I kind of equalize it and figure it out, so you make a little less per hour because I'm having to pay all those things instead of you having to pay them as a subcontractor. But it's still basically that same range.
Okay, perfect. So the next question has two parts to it. It's where is a good place to find part-time tax preparers during March and April, and what is the rate for tax preparers?
Okay, that one I can't answer because we only do bookkeeping. We do not do anything year-end accountants do. I do not do T1s or T2s. So I'm going to say I can't help you very much. I'm going to say you're still going to go to the same places to find the help that I've mentioned. I just can't tell you an hourly rate. And again, it's going to be different because you're going to have some people who are they're just data inputters, right? They're just pounding it out, and you're not going to pay them very much. I mean, if you're just showing them, here, pound these all out, put these T4s in, et cetera, it's going to be on the low end. You're going to be maybe only paying $18 an hour, $17, $18 an hour. But I do know with some of the tax softwares that are out there that some of them connect now right to CRA, so you pull in all those T-slips. So if you can do that, if you haven't thought of that, that might be one thing to look at to see if there's something there that you can be getting half the slips in. So you're really only dealing with the medical, the donations, the other things. So sorry, I can't help too much because it's not what we do. But
that was great insight, however. So and the last question is, or actually, sorry, we do have a couple more, but we're going to have, this one is, do you normally hire experienced employees or do you hire grads from post-secondary school?
Okay, good question. I normally hire with some experience. So our norm is 3 years hands-on experience. So nobody right out of school. Now I have had a couple times, one worked out, one did not. What you have to realize is if you do a grad, you need to, or somebody on your team needs to put a lot of time aside to get them up to speed. So pretty well every single job you give them, you need to sit with them for a very long time to get them up to speed on things, because things we take for granted, they don't know. And that's, again, 100% why you need to be working on your workflows and your processes and documenting them. So right now we're going through that whole process. One, because we're just growing so much and you don't want to repeat yourself all the time. And two, it makes your business sellable, right? When you want to get out, you have something to sell because there's actually processes that have been put in place. So what I'm doing right now is sometimes as something comes up, I stop and I record it or I document it or whatever, so that either a little video or I dictate it or write it out in a Word document, et cetera, and put screenshots in. I just take the time right now because I know I don't want to have to do it again. So if you start building up a little bit of a library like that, really helps to bring on somebody. And you got to think, you got to weigh the pros and cons. You're going to pay them less per hour because they don't know anything except for theory, but you're going to have to put in the time or somebody on your team. So you've got to decide, that's the pro and the con. Do you have the time? But the other thing is, they come with no bad habits. you can train them how you want it done your way. So that's a big bonus.
Thanks, Diana. That was great. Now we have another really great question. What is more valued by you? Fast data entry skills or knowledge about payroll and tax rules?
Knowledge.
Knowledge,
hands down. And the reason why is because we now have a lot of our clients moving off of the QuickBooks Desktop and onto the QuickBooks Online. And we're using, for a ton of them, and more we're trying to get, you only can change so much at a time, but we're getting them onto HubDoc. And so HubDoc, of course, is doing the majority of our data entry. So we're trying to really reduce our data entry because that's boring. We want to move our staff. Again, it's a bit of a growth thing for our staff. We want to move them off the boring data entry. We want to move them into some more analytical and teaching them those kind of skills and what they should be looking for. So I look most for knowledge. I give, and I didn't talk about it in this, I do talk about it with the next one on Thursday about testing the hires. So I didn't take time here, but I do talk about it on Thursday, and I'll say testing, because it's virtual and we're not sitting beside them, testing is so important that I know what do they know. And it's not all about what do you know right now in your head, it's do you know where to go find the answer. I don't expect anybody to know everything right away. I expect they know there's something about that, I better go look it up. That's what they should know. Or they might say, kind of related to something else, there could be some weird special rules about this. So nowhere do I want people just to always be asking me, what's the answer? What's the answer? Because I'll tell you, you can ask my staff, I'll say, and what have you tried? And what have you looked up? And what do you think? And I do the same with my children. What do you think? Find out where their starting place and that is before helping them. But people need to know where are our resources. We've got our QuickBooks communities. We've got CRA website, right? We have all these different places we can go look things up. So they need to be a little bit self-sufficient. So knowledge for sure, hands down.
Perfect. That was really insightful. We have another question about workflows, and it goes, what program do you use for your workflows?
Aha. Okay, so there's a bunch out there, and I was talking in Calgary at the conference about this. There's a bunch out there, and some are workflows and some are workflows / practice management. And what's the difference? Well, if you think of practice management as your back office, it's the tracking of things, and the workflow is here's all the steps and how to do it. So one's the micro, one's the macro, and you need both, really, right? So you have to judge out there what programs. I will tell you which one I'm using. I'm using one that it's majority workflow. It's not practice management. We're getting some of our practice management in there, and we're trying to figure out how else we're going to take our practice management, because our practice management right now is in Client Track, but it's not meeting all our needs. Our workflow, we've moved to Arrow, and we've also done that because we've moved our own books to QBO, so Arrow talks to QBO, but we're also using another program called Process Street. Now, Process Street is a checklist type workflow application. It also will speak to QBO with some certain things, and it works with Zapier, and Zapier is an app that is a connector between all different programs that don't talk to each other, so you can move data between them. So I'm going to tell you, in our workflow of Bookkeeper, how do you do a month end? That's in Arrow. When we have other workflows, such as how do we bring onboard a client, how do we offboard, how do we onboard and offboard a staff member, whether they're an employee or a subcontractor, because there's some differences, we use Process Street. And the only reason we don't use Arrow as well for it is because Process Street lets us do a lot of if this, then that, and that's actually a saying that's out there with these workflows. So it's IT, if this, T, if this, then that, right? So ITTT is what the short form is, the acronym is. So with that, we're putting in automated zaps between our CRM program, our QBO program, and into our Arrow. Arrow actually works with Zapier as well. It works with our MailChimp, our SurveyMonkey. It works with a whole lot of things. So we kind of have two. So I hope that kind of answered. But everybody has to look at what's right for them. For me, price point with the Arrow and its capabilities worked for my firm. I have a business associate. She's using Jetpack, but she's a much smaller group. I think she's like a group of 5. So she's using Jetpack, and she implemented it during tax season, and she's loving it, she said. So just so you know.
Thank you so much, Dianna. We do have a couple of questions. However, we had time. Dianna, if you can just go to the next slide.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we do have a next webinar, a follow-up with Dianna on Thursday, September 27th, 1 to 2, same time. Please register for that. Dianna, once again, thank you so much for your time. We will be reaching out to the questions that were pending. We'll work with Dianna and we will email you the answers. But again, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Dianna.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.